Welcome back to Mock the Mock, where we take a look at someone else's mock draft. And I'm mocking, giving you my views, thoughts, and opinions. And what's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, become a bro, and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. As always, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that nice, beautiful, sensual football discourse. We'll be checking out Bengals one round 2023 NFL mock draft. If you're looking for a little bit more, I did a 2-rounder yesterday, so check that out. Also, quick thanks to today's sponsor, Manscaped. You get 20% off plus free shipping when you use promo code Broshmo, all caps, at checkout. If you're trying to look a little bit better for your gal, well, at least in the nether regions, then check out Manscaped. Now, let's go ahead and get into this. Look at how serious Bengal looks, man. Looks like about cuss me out. Calm down, Bengal. Calm down. I haven't said anything bad yet. But I already checked out his video, so I suggest you go and watch it if you want to see his own input. This is purely mine. But I did watch the video, so I could give a fair assessment of his picks. Starting with Bryce Young, Houston Texans. It's the right pick. It's the best pick. There's not much to talk about from here. That's 1 out of 1. There you go. Will Anderson going to the Raiders. Again, it looks like Derek Carr, man, he was seen in it. He was seen in it after the game. Although we've come to the end of the road, and the Raiders know I have to leave. That's the best I got. That was off the cuff, so sorry, I couldn't give you anything better. But listen, Derek Carr, you could opt out of his contract over this season. You could probably move on from him and get some significant, at least pretty good capital in return. Means you're probably going quarterback at this pick if you are number 2. That's how I see it. If they want to move forward with Derek Carr, then yes, it makes sense to go with the best non-quarterback prospect in the draft. I just don't see it that way right now. CJ Stroud going to the Panthers kind of makes it a bit easier on the Panthers, because if there's no Stroud at this pick, no Bryce Young, then it's like, do you want to reach on Will Levis? Probably not. But it's Panthers. Who knows? But yeah, Stroud's kind of a no-brainer. You know, the quarterback of the future is not on the squad. It's not PJ Walker. It's not Sam Darnold. It ain't Baker Mayfield. I don't care how good his commercials are. And then Jalen Carter going to the Eagles. These are, for mostly everybody, the top 4 prospects in this class: Young, Anderson, Stroud, and Carter. We know how squishy the defense has been for the Eagles up the middle. Reuniting Jordan Davis, and to be fair, Jordan Davis has been not around the past few weeks, so the run defense has been extra vulnerable. But adding Jalen Carter to that is just super nasty. I like it. So let's continue on. And, oh, no, we're skipping too far ahead. I'm skipping too far ahead. There we go. Olu Fashanu going to the Jaguars. Now, offensive line seems like a popular pick. Also, you can make a good case for corner here. I think the more interesting take here is Olu Fashanu going over Peter Skoronski, which we can all acknowledge when it comes to length and it comes to maybe high-end athleticism. Skoronski doesn't necessarily have that. That's going to be the biggest knock on him in this draft process. The dude, he's gritty, plays with power, and he's a beautiful technician, but he is lacking in some key departments. It's not like, oh, this guy lacks length. He's not the same athlete, though, as Rashawn Slater or Penei Sewell, who also lacked in length. Fashanu, a guy that's kind of skyrocketed out of nowhere. He's a first-year starter, a guy who is 19, 20, and you know he's only getting better from here. Already his pass protection looks freaking phenomenal. He needs to come together as a run blocker. Makes sense for the Jags if they don't want to bring back a Jawan Taylor, and it's kind of, who knows, they don't know what they have, I guess, in Walker Little, or maybe they've seen enough, so maybe they don't feel good about Walker Little moving forward as a tackle. A team that also needs some guard help, you could always move Walker Little into guard. Peter Skoronski going to the Chicago Bears. If you don't feel good about any of the receivers at this point, then that's fair. Like, I think Quentin Johnson could end up being a top 10 guy. I feel a bit better about him at this point than I did probably Drake London, and he's a guy that went top 10 Though I did really like Drake London. Big problem with Drake London during the whole process was didn't really get to see what he could do till his pro day, and even then he didn't run the 40. A lot of people were like, this guy's stinking slow. While Quentin Johnston, he's probably going to be a 4.4 guy. Instead, here they go Peter Skoronsky. They get a guy who was recruited as a center, but has played left tackle for the better part of 2.5 seasons, and he's done it at a high level. So one way or another, you're hoping to complete that offensive line, whether it's at center. More likely, if you're picking him at 6, you see him as your next left tackle. And then Miles Murphy going to the Seahawks. This one's kind of an easy one. You know the Seahawks do need some more pass rush on the edge. I know some of y'all are like, oh man, Seahawks, they were like 4th in sacks, but it really doesn't equate to like pass rush in terms of hurries, win rate, pressure rate. And I think that was very evident in the Tampa Bay game, where all their pressure was coming from the interior, because we know that was a place that the Bucs were struggling, and they took full advantage of that. So grabbing another edge rusher, especially one with the freaky physical tools of Miles Murphy, is really good here. And then Keely Ringo going to Detroit, pairing him up with Jeffrey Okudah, who's having a really good season. I like that. We know Ringo, he was in Bruce Feldman's freaks list. He's a guy that has great size at corner, but he also brings he also brings a lot of speed in that regard. Some people be like, oh, the ball skills aren't there, but he's a guy that will not let you beat him over the top. We saw when Hendon Hooker tried to do that, and his contested catch guy, his jump ball guy, Cedric Tillman, got out-muscled by Keely Ringo, and it ended up being a pick. So Keely Ringo, some people are a bit sour on him, like, oh, he's overrated, and I disagree. He may not have the ball skill, like the ball skill plays this year in terms of production, but I think he's been still pretty solid. Now let's go to pick 9. Being the Houston Texans, they go with the best player on the board, being Brian Brazee, and I think that's a really good pick. They really just need help along the defensive line. I don't care if it's on the interior. I don't care if it's the edge. Get some guys that can put some pressure on the passer. You could also consider wide receiver here. Paris Johnson going to the Steelers. It's no secret that the offensive line needs some help in Pittsburgh. Corner could be another area. It really depends how you feel about the next corners after Keely Ringo. And I guess it depends who your top corner is. Some people, again, not high on Keely Ringo. But Paris Johnson does make a ton of sense. I think he is probably potentially tackle 2, tackle 3. I don't really see him. Like, typically, it's a 4-man race for tackle 1, Skoronski, Fashanu, Paris Johnson, and Broderick Jones. And when people rate those 4, you don't really see Paris Johnson being the 4th guy or at the bottom of that list. It's typically Broderick Jones. I think Paris Johnson has been fantastic this year. Tyree Wilson going to the Lions. So they just keep addressing the defense, which is fine. Again, if you're not high on Will Levis, then that's okay. Don't be high on Will Levis. You don't have to use your pick here. Someone though is going to swing on that guy just because of the tools. Tyree Wilson, he has length similar, basically a build and length similar to Travon Walker last year. However, he's not the athlete Walker is, though he is a very good athlete for that size. However, where he also differs from Walker is he actually has the production to his name. So I do believe Tyree Wilson's going to end up being a top 15, maybe even a top 10 pick when it's all said and done. Having him across from Aiden Hutchinson sounds like a scary future there. So I like that. The Lions, you go ahead and address the 2 most important pieces on the defense, being pass rush and coverage. And then Christian Gonzalez going to the Falcons. And I'm fine with this. I think the corners have actually played relatively all right for the Falcons, though add in more talent, more depth, more young talent at that, I think is key. Christian Gonzalez is a really good fit for Dean Pease. So good on you there. And also, kind of like the consensus top 3 edge rushers in this class are off the board, so it makes sense maybe to go to the corner class that may not be, getting selected. And then on to pick 13, the Arizona Cardinals. They go with Joey Porter. Makes sense. I think he's actually a really good scheme fit. They need to add talent, depth, and competition to the cornerback position. It's kind of like what I was just saying. And the Cardinals are in a very similar situation where they probably should go pass rush or go with a cornerback in the first round, just because if the talent's there, go for it. But it has to be one of those two because you're just so bad at those positions. Quentin Johnson going to the Packers. I love it. Thing is, are the Packers going to take a receiver in the first round? That's the question. Quentin Johnson, though, I like this. I'm not saying he's very similar in some regards to Devontae Adams, or at least what he brings to the table. So I do like that. I do like what he can do after the catch. He is a bit different than Christian Watson, the guy who just exploded last week, because it looks like he might end up being the guy that they like to throw in the slot. Especially if they want to go with him vertical, like they used him on a ton of crossers, trying to get this guy his head in front rather than having to catch over the short. Doesn't seem to be his cup of tea. Johnson, just a great contested catch guy. And then the Washington Commanders do go Will Levis. I think I made this pick in the 2-round mock draft that we did. And you're here at 15, sweet on tools. Taylor Heinicke's great and all. He's gritty. He lacks those physical tools that Will Levis does have. So swing for the fences. You got a very fine backup. And if you feel like Will Levis is not ready, then go ahead and just start Heinicke. One way or another, Carson Wentz is out of here. Let's get Gojo in here for his take. Hey, Gojo. How you doing, buddy? Gojo is the resident Chiefs fan. You want to say hi to everybody? Ripped my headphones out. Come on. Come up here. Come up here, bud. Oh, okay. You're scratching yourself. Well, you missed out. All right. Great. Now my headphones are all kinds of messed up. There we go. All right. We got Broderick Jones going to the Colts. Makes sense. Listen, Will Levis off the board. They would love to go quarterback, but Broderick Jones, again, quarterback not there. Left tackle, kind of the other need there. Like, honestly, Bernhard Raimann, could he be that answer? Potentially, but you might as well take a swing on it because of the or at least the offensive line has not been that good. You could also make a case that Raimann could move in to the guard position. Broderick Jones, probably one of the better run blocking tackles in this class, which, hey, that fits what they want to do with Jonathan Taylor. Hey, buddy, is it okay if I do the rest of this video? Do I have your blessings? Okay, yeah, I do. Thank you for the kisses. Good dog. When we get to the Chiefs, I'll bring you back on. At 17, Michael Mayer going to the Chargers. Another pick I think makes sense. Though Jordan Addison still being around, I think kind of complicates things, because you see how important that vertical separator is to this offense, because outside that, Justin Herbert just ends up dinking and dunking. And he's got the type of arm talent you want to take advantage of. We've seen, it's wild how much of a threat Guyton was for this offense and how that's kind of changed things. Granted, other receivers have been beat up in Keenan Allen and in Mike Williams, but those aren't necessarily the guys that are going to be doing that job in terms of getting separation deep. So Jordan Addison's kind of the pick I like here. But Michael Mayer, you got Gerald Everett. He has one more year after this season, but already you could stand and improve that. Michael Mayer is a top 20 guy. Does he go in the top 20? I'm not entirely sure, but big fan of Michael Mayer. Osiris Torrance going to the Bengals, and this one's, I think, a bit interesting. You're kind of getting an upgrade from who's playing Cordell Volson, right? Yeah, he's playing I think left tackle for the left or right tackle for the Bengals. So you do get an immediate upgrade there. Osiris Torrance is probably the only interior player worth a first round pick at this point. So regardless, I think this is probably offensive line for the Bengals. All right, on to Bijan Robinson going to the Bucks. Every one of their moms loving this pick now. Excuse me. Because you know, Leonard Fournette, you would love to. He's not been that productive. You'd love to get off his contract. Pairing Bijan with Rachaad White gives this team some dimensions. In the run game, I just feel like there might be better positional value places you can go. Like Cam Smith's still on the board. You got free agents in the form of Sean Murphy-Bunting and Jameel Dean. We could talk about the safety position because you do have Antoine Winfield playing more out of the slot. You could even mention linebacker. You could talk about Osiris Torrance is off the board, but you could also mention the guard spot. So I feel like the corner might be my pick. Even edge rush. The edge rush has been even before Shaq Barrett went down. The pass rush wasn't necessarily getting home. DeJuan Jones, man, he's a massive human being, and he moves actually particularly well. And I think the Broncos would love to bring a guy like this in there, a guy you could start right away if you want to at guard, but not necessarily. If they move on from Dalton Reisner, you throw Quinton Miners there, and then bam, you got your right tackle here in Jones. I don't mind it. I don't know if I see him this high yet, but I do understand the pick. On to 21. Here goes Jordan Addison. So they get a nice separator, and the thing about Addison, he doesn't just separate vertically, he can do it horizontally. He's just great at getting separation, getting a step or two on his defender, and I think Mac Jones would love a guy like that. A guy that can get separation underneath and then create after the catch, just has that game breaking speed. You pair that up with Jakobi Meyers, who's been very good out of the slot for the Patriots. So yeah, I'm cool with that. Trent Simpson going to the Seahawks. I like this. They don't really have a linebacker that can cover a lot of ground, and Simpson's kind of that guy, a guy that can also shoot the A and B gaps on a blitz if you want to. He's shown he is very capable of doing that, a guy that can come off the edge. Like, he just gives you a lot of versatility. Jalen Duncan going to the Jets. I'm not this high on Jalen Duncan immediately, but there are people that are. He is a guy that moves pretty well. He's got good length. Freaking Joe Douglas, Robert Saleh, they probably would love to enforce the trenches, but I just don't value him this high. And then Jahmyr Gibbs going to the Bills. I get it. The Bills, this feels like a luxury pick for them, but I think you could actually maybe address not linebacker, but safety spot. There we go. As you have Brian Branch and Antonio Johnson still on the board here, and I think that's a very valuable, especially when your safety duo is up there in dog years, and you could probably move on from them. We've seen DeMar Hamlin play well, and then get the next guy there. Again, Gibbs feels a bit of a luxury pick at this point, but you're the Bills, man. Like, with Osiris Torrance off the board, like, you can't really do anything about the offensive line, or at least without sacrificing significant value. So, all right, on to the next part of this draft. We got Jackson Smith and Njigba going to the Ravens. I think I mentioned this one a few weeks ago, where I actually kind of like this addition. Gives Lamar Jackson a very deadly weapon underneath, a guy who just can create after the catch, and he's one of the best run blocking wide receivers in this class, which the freaking Ravens would love. Darnell Washington is a bit interested for the Titans. I get it. He's a very good run blocker. If you're the Titans, you probably want to go with offensive line. It's kind of not here, though. I think Anton Harrison would be an interesting thought. Darnell Washington, okay, Okonkwo, he's more of an H-back, tight end 2. You get Washington, he's your tight end 1, but he isn't really the receiving threat that you really want. Like, this is a cat that, yeah, he's a very good athlete for his size, but that's north-south. Like, east-west, not so great. You'll see highlights of him, like hurdling, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's insane. But it's like doesn't really bring that receiving element to him. So I think the Titans, they might be better picks here than Darnell Washington. Also, I'm just not this high on Washington. Brian Branch going to the Cowboys. I know the Cowboys, they never address the safety position. Seems like they don't value the safety position. But Brian Branch is immense value here, a guy that can immediately come in and play the slot if you want to still hold on to Curse and Hooker, and then eventually take over for one of those two. So I do like the pick here. Cam Smith is wonderful value for the Giants. Giants, listen, you don't have to, if you don't you don't have to go quarterback here. If you feel like, you know what, the value's not here, it's fine, it's whatever. Fine, go with Smith. Dory Jackson, probably not a future plan for the Giants. And even if he is, they can definitely use more help on the outside, and Cam Smith does bring that. And then on to the final picks here in this draft class. We have, he does the first round plus the first second round pick. That's cool. So Clark Phillips going to the Vikings. Really good scheme fit. I think when it's all said and done, 5'10", 185, not ideal size, but a guy that he's a playmaker. He's got great instincts. He's ideal for this like off coverage zone heavy scheme, and that would be great for him going to the Vikings. Lucas Van Ness. I talked about this cat in one of my sleeper videos recently, and I don't think he comes out, but I do think he could end up being a first rounder. I believe he leads the Hawkeyes in sacks and pressures, despite not technically being the starter there. But man, this cat is like, he's built like a grizzly bear. He attacks like a grizzly bear. His game does need a bit more polish, but that's kind of fine if you're gonna just swing for upside. If you're the Chiefs, Chiefs need some more help at the edge room. And then BJ Ojulari going to the Eagles. Pass rush, that's fine. They would love more pass rush. He is a bit of a Yannick Ngakoue type. So maybe Cat you utilize similar to Hassan Haskins. So I think Nolan Smith probably fits better in that role. But regardless, you're getting a very productive edge rusher. And then Antonio Johnson going to the Texans. Feels a bit more of the same of what they have there in the safety room, slot room. He's a good safety, though. He's a good safety playing that Tampa 2 there. Like, you kind of want two good safeties. And depending on who have they been playing in the slot heavily recently? I want to say it's been the Baylor cat, who I can never remember his name, Jalen Pitre. I want to say it's been Pitre in the slot, because they've been working Stanley and Steve Nelson on the outside predominantly. And I mean, to be fair, it's been Desmond King. Desmond King is actually a pretty solid slot corner. Now when we're talking about the safeties, okay, it's been Jonathan Owen a lot this year. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, and he's been a guy you could probably do better than. I'm surprised Eric Murray hasn't really gotten a lot of work this year. So, okay, there's a spot for him. You know, if you just want to pick value, he's probably going to be one of the higher guys on the board here. I think there's a lot of edge talent you could probably take with that pick, because I think guys still on the board are like Jared Verse, Nolan Smith, Isaiah Foskey, I think might be the best fit there. So a lot of edge talent if you want to go that way. But hey, if you do check out Bengal's video, don't forget to hit that like button for him. All right, and you do the same to this video. But that's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube thing, and as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.